It's your boy back again. Here to talk trash, not to make friends. Come on now. Salutes to the real ones, y'all. Today I'm just gonna talk about everyday reality. And y'all can't say, man, that after COVID, things have became a little weird. They were weird before, but they really weird now. And you ask, what has changed? I can't tell you, man. Looking around, all I can do is observe this shit and recognize that it's real weird how things are going and keep my guard up. That's the thing that's one thing I think people need to learn how to do. Keep your guard up and sustain combat at all times. When you leave your house, hell, sometimes even in your house, man, you need to keep your head on a swivel. Some of y'all living in combat situations at home and shit, in your own sanctuary. But those that don't have to live in that type of environment, when you leave your home, you got to keep your head on a swivel. Objectively, you know, deal with things. A lot of things that happen to us, man, don't take that much interaction for us to, you know, negotiate them. But the things that we can negotiate, with minimum, you know, uh, commitment, should be the easy things. Those should be the things that you should be able to breeze by. And there's more of that than there is serious shit, or you got to get physical with it, or really put some real brain power behind it. But the things that are happening that you can just breeze by, I don't think people pay attention because those things right there get you caught up. For instance, let's just talk about this for a second. The cat Luigi, right? Why is the whole thing with Luigi? And this is just allegedly. The whole thing with Luigi is starting to fall apart, and the person that they have ain't the person. So they're just gonna forget about the crime and just concentrate on the media presence, which is Luigi, right? I knew exactly when I saw this entire thing happen, that something was weird about it. For one, the video was just perfect, perfect place, perfect time. You know what I'm saying? The way that they described this guy is that he had some type of training. He knew where all the cameras were at. He was able to hide, stay out of sight. So people couldn't see where he was at before he completed his task, right? But he couldn't hide from that one camera. They caught him actually doing the act. And this is what's weird with me. The video looks great, almost like 720 or 730p or some shit like that. But we don't see things that we should see in situations that involve violence. For one, right, we don't see the urgency. Most motherfuckers, when they commit a crime, especially in out in the open, where everybody can see, where there's obvious witnesses, there's a sense of urgency. Two, right, the type of weapon that the individual used, right? If there was a specialized weapon that somebody used, it would be easy to find out how many of these weapons were sold, who they were sold to, and then get some type of lead behind that. That's just classic TV drama shit right there. Detective show shit right there. Number three, right? I think I'm on three, right? Number three, when he was racking the weapon, if it was a 9 millimeter, unless he had blacked out shell casings, right? Which makes no sense. Somebody said that to me one time. He could have had blacked out shell cases, right? Because we sit around and talk about shit like this a lot. Even if he had blacked out shell casings, right? Which he didn't, because they showed the shell casings on the ground at the scene. Why didn't we see any of the shell casings come out of the gun? One, when he fired it. Two, when he had to, correct the malfunction. And then three, when he was shooting. Well, I said firing already, right? To have such detail in the description of these rounds and the events, the video, and all that stuff, there's a lot of holes in this Luigi story. And you know what? This is a form of demoralization that most people don't know about. To get your hopes up type demoralization, get you all invested, and then pull a rug from up under you. So the house of cards just falls, right? But nobody's saying anything about the inconsistencies, right? Nobody's talking about the possibility of this cat faking his death. Not the fact is that there was a cartel member not too long ago that faked his death in the United States now. He faked his death over in Mexico and was living in the United States. Now, how long he was living in the United States, they're not gonna say, because we got to understand, man. This is a system of checks and balances, man. Nobody can function in this world without somebody knowing who you are and where you come from. Nobody can do that. Nobody can function like that. So my whole thing is that these guys are pushing this information to us. When there's corroborating questions, well, questions that should be corroborated, first of all, like this cartel guy that's faked his death. How is he able to get so set up here in America? When he faked his death, all of his wealth and everything was in Mexico. So when he faked his death in Mexico, he came here, he just automatically got hooked up when he got here? No, he had his money from Mexico. You ask, how could a dead man keep his money here in the U.S. after he supposedly died in Mexico? Man, I'm telling you, if it was done with the banks, the government had to know about it. How crazy. Unless he had bags and bundles of fucking money, then if it was done electronically, they know about it, right? They know about it. If his family kept his money and was able to come to the U.S. and live off of it, that should have been suspect number one right there. How are these people able to do that when this is a known cartel member coming to the United States, large sums of money, jumping right into the economy? Believe it or not, they track everything, man. They track everything. They know when people leave this country. They know when people come here, and they know how much money these people are spending coming and going. That's just simple shit. It's all done by computers nowadays. So they don't have to guess and do any homework. They already know. Now, why is this important? Because who's to say that this motherfucking CEO of this insurance company ain't doing the same thing? We know they criminals. We know the criminal organizations operate the same way as insurance companies, right? They extort money from people based off of their rules and regs and their laws and shit. See, this dude wanted to out of the business. This is my interpretation of what happened. This dude wanted out of the business. He wanted to start a whole new life. He didn't want to be broke while doing it. And guess what? Faking your death is the easiest way to do it. I'm going to drop that because that doesn't draw too much attention. But just think about it, man. That's one of the things that they keep on pushing to us. They want to prove that this cat, right, is guilty. And at the same time, they don't have no evidence. Now, if you don't have no evidence the person that you're accusing did the crime, Was there a crime that actually happened? Well, they have it on videotape. Well, if they have it on videotape, they should have all the evidence that goes along with that video. One, there's not too much evidence other than watching this cat do this shit on the videotape. There's no shell casings coming from the gun. There ain't none of that stuff. So I just think that that's weird that we just sitting back and allowing this shit to happen without even pointing the fingers and talking about this shit. I think people are scared to call out a lie these days. People are scared to call out lies. I don't know why. It's probably because, they benefit from these lies. And if they call the lie out, maybe they won't benefit as much as they could. Because there's still much more to come with this Luigi story. Because he's eventually going to be found not guilty, for lack of information. And then what? Now they're back at zero. Now they have no suspects, none of this. So they're going to drag this Luigi thing out as long as they can. But eventually he's going to be found not guilty. Now, other news, now they're talking about, they're coming out and they're saying that, I know this is going to be some old shit, but George Floyd didn't die from having a knee on his neck. Whoa. Say he died from having fentanyl, sickle cell, and cardiovascular disease. So hold on. So why is that man in prison? Why is the cop still demonized? I don't understand that. If y'all know all of this information and the facts, are what matter, then why not appeal the case, go back to court, and get this shit taken care of? Well, if they are doing that, they not letting nobody know. Because I ain't heard no news talking about the George Floyd case is back in the court system. They just gonna let that shit die out like that. See, it's something about psyops and fake stuff that once people start figuring it out, they never go back and revisit the topic. They never go back and revisit the topic. They let little things leak out, but they never go back and really dissect and visit the topic. So now look, if that's the case, right? They said the same shit not too long ago about the young lady that got killed in her house by the cops. Say that the cop is asking for, they said something similar. The cop is asking for, better treatment because he's having problems being locked up and shit. I guarantee you that just like all these other cases that are weird and occurring like straight out of the movie type shit, they always get some type of publicity that says that there's something fraudulent about them. Either they try to make it fraudulent from the judicial system or they make it fraudulent, period. Like they came back and said the whole George Floyd shit. If the cop didn't kill the guy, why do we have to go through the whole rigmarole of, going through the demonization process? And this is what people don't recognize. Demoralization is not meant to harm you immediately. Demoralization is more like, it's a long-term strategy. See, because when you demoralize somebody, you might not see the effects right off. But over time, that person begins to change. Almost like they're walking off the path that they were supposed to be on, and they're starting on their own trail. You know what I'm saying? They just starting to just fall off. And this is how a lot of societies get controlled. If I can bring you out of a state of calm and, stability and put you in a state of instability and irrationality, then now I was able to take you off of, your peace, if that makes sense. And everybody needs peace, man. You need to have peace of mind when you lay down at night and go to sleep. If you ain't got peace of mind, you're not gonna have no good sleep. And that's what these people know. These people know this stuff, man. So to demoralize a whole group of people, get them to think that they're being targeted because of their skin color. Then find the targeters, right? Find the aggressors, lock them up, say that they're the bad guy, expose them for what they are, satisfy the populace, the people that need this, and then let it rest for a little bit. And then come back out and say, oh, all of it's wrong. It's like pulling a Band-Aid off of a wound that you just bandaged up. And not just pulling it off, ripping it off. So all the healed shit that's up under it can be destroyed. You see what I'm saying? Now the wound is even worse than it was before you put the damn bandage on there. You know what I'm saying? So now the wound can grow and can heal malfunctioned and shit. The wound might not grow as quick as it should. The skin might not come back off the right color. Might not come back the right texture. Hair might not grow in that spot. You see what I'm saying? This is how they do it. And they let that fester for a while. Then they come back, reassure the people again, hey, we were wrong. It's like a game of seesaw, right? The heavier person don't always win the game of seesaw. And what I mean by the game of seesaw is who can control the rhythm of the up and down. The heavy person don't always win. If the heavy person knew that there was a chance that the lighter person could jump off and they go slam into the ground because they're the heaviest, you know what I'm saying? They wouldn't control. They would do more to control the seesaw. But no, we got people, man, that obviously, right? And what I mean by the heavier person, I'm talking about the majority of people. When you got a majority of people believing the same thing, they are the heavier group on the scale. You see what I'm saying? On the seesaw. And the light group, instead of riding the seesaw and letting the heavier group control it, shit, we wait until the heavier group allows us to go back down and jump off that bitch and let them go slam into the ground. I used to love doing that shit to my older siblings. Oh, you don't want to let me control the seesaw. You just want to control me going up and down. Well, I'm going to jump off this bitch when you right at your weakest point. You know what I'm saying? This is how demoralization affects a group of people. You know, it's like if everybody, when you were a kid, knew that Santa Claus was fake and you were the last to find out, you feel cheated. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody else know where they getting their shit from, but you doing extra. You know what I'm saying? You up in there doing all the chores, you know, following all the rules, taking all the shit from everybody else that know the secret and you don't. And then after you don't get what you want for your Christmas, they pull the rug from up under you and tell you, you know what, don't worry about it. Santa Claus don't exist anyway. God damn, that makes it even worse. So you mean tell me I put in all that work to get what I wanted, was extra nice to all you clowns, and did all this shit. Then come to find out the gifts come from mom and daddy, and I still couldn't get what I wanted? That right there, that demoralization right there, is enough to change the behavior of a child. So when they become a young adult, it'll still be affecting them. It's still affecting them. You know why? Because they don't realize, right, what the problem was in the first place that got them to that point. And it was just, the problem was this, lying. That's what the problem is, lying, right? But when you lie with a purpose, that makes it even worse because these people are lying with a purpose. They know exactly what this type of psychology does to people. They know exactly how the effects work and the time frame it takes to see the change. You know what I'm saying? They know if they get on the TV and broadcast it to every television to a certain racial demographic, that they're being targeted, that the people that they're talking about are going to be frantic. You know what I'm saying? And this is how Most people live their life. They live their life on the edge of insanity and somewhat, coherentness. Because you know how they say, I blacked out when I heard what he said or whatever. That's not a fake thing. I used to think that was fake until it happened to me. But that's not a fake thing. That's a real thing. People lose their mind when they demoralize, man. I see we don't recognize it. We do the demoralization game to each other all the time. See? So back when I was a little kid, everybody wasn't running around calling each other, names like we call each other now. Like for instance, when I was a kid, we didn't walk around calling each other nigga. And let alone, some other race of people calling us nigga. We didn't tolerate that. We checked each other on that shit. Don't call me a nigga. You know what I'm saying? But now we have a different philosophy around this. The philosophy has changed. And they say, oh, we took a negative and turned it into a positive. Then we got all this history that comes up behind it, talking about nigga means nada with this and that. And it's just weird how the demoralized becomes the demoralizer after a period of time. Because they get it too. They kind of get it. Because they realize that I can change the behavior of these idiots if I just use these tactics. And some of these guys call it out of body. They're getting you out of your body and shit. But just imagine a whole, city of people out of body. And that's their goal. That's their goal. There ain't nobody there to temper this shit. Nobody there to slow down this raging bull of a city of people that are misled by demoralization tactics. The demoralization tactic is this. Make somebody feel confident. First of all, make them feel vulnerable. Make them feel confident. And then take away the confidence from them. Now they have no faith in the people that's trying to give them that warm and fuzzy feeling of confidence. If they didn't have that, if they don't have that, then they have nothing, man. They have nothing because, to tell you the truth, people have little faith in themselves. They put faith in other shit. But back to the thing about, I forgot to finish out with this shit about the philosophy of us calling each other niggas, right? The philosophy changed somewhere along the late 1900s, around about 97, 96 or some shit like that. It changed. The whole philosophy around, that word changed around the 1900s. I mean, the late 1900s, like 1996, 95, somewhere a time frame like that. And I recognized it, and I didn't even realize that maybe we were lied to about this shit. See, because that word right there, nigga, it's not the same word as nigger. And the reason why it's not the same word is because the end of it, the guh and the gur. But check this shit out. What if they were the same words? One was masculine and the other one was feminine. Right? What if it was one nigga, right? Either nigga or nigger. One's masculine and the other one's feminine. Now think about that. Which one would be the masculine one? The guh or the gur? Which one would be the feminine one? Think about that, and you'll see what I'm talking about. See, because when you take a group of people and you separate them and pick out the differences between them and shit, you are actually causing division. So just think about that. Which one's the masculine, which one's the feminine? People, there's information out there about this shit. The feminist movement put this shit out there. Even the manosphere motherfuckers put this shit out there too. Because there are two wings of the same bird. The manosphere and the feminist movement. They are two wings of the same sides of the same coin. You know what I'm saying? So think about that. And then while you're thinking about that, think about this. If you have all the money in the world, right? And money rules the world, who can stop you? Who can stop you? Is there something out there that doesn't operate under the guise of the control of money? See, this is what I don't understand. If they say money rules everything, right? But then they turn around and say that there is a rule of justice on this land, right? Then what happened to all the times where money overruled the rule of justice? I mean, look at all the law cases that came about, for rich people. And I'm gonna say this shit happened. This shit started right before the OJ case. If you got money, that means that you could pay for things that the average person can't pay for. Freedom, for one. And if your lawyers, determine whether or not you're going to be free, then apparently a person with a lot of money can afford the best lawyers, right? So why on green earth, I wasn't going to say God's green earth, but on this green earth, are we backtracking on the fact is that money doesn't rule the world? Meaning that if you have enough money, you can get away with anything. And I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about. If P. Diddy and Jay-Z were billionaires, like they say, right? None of this stuff would be able to affect them. Matter of fact, they wouldn't even get to mainstream. You know why? Because a billionaire can pay for publicists, can pay for image consultants, can pay for media consultants, can bribe the media with all the money they have to keep these stories from reaching the average Joe like us, right? Because nothing hurts more than to hear that your fans dislike you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that really destroys an entertainer to the core to know that his fans, don't like him, allegedly. I'm just being facetious because they don't give a fuck about that, man. They don't care. They don't care if we like Jay-Z or P. Diddy. They don't care about that. Look, these people do not care. The judgment meter for these people does not hit the M for morality. It hits the M for money. When they see the gauge hit the M, they don't care if it means that I made a good moral standing with these people. And that's a good thing. No, fuck the morals. They care if it earns them money. So you think they care about their image? Do you think that P. Diddy and Jay-Z care that people know that they're pedophiles and rapists and all of this shit that they say about them? Hell no, they don't care. You know why? Because they rich. They got money. And they know that money rules the world. And people with lots of money, the shit like arrests, indictments, and lawyers don't affect them. That don't affect them. We only hear about people that are just like us. When you go to a neighborhood, a small neighborhood where everybody knows each other, and you run into the local gossip, she's not talking about somebody on the other side of town, or he not talking about somebody over in the next state. He talking about the motherfuckers right there where he at. He's talking about the people that he live around and that he socialized with, because that's all that matters in their world. Now, why would I say something like that and then have it associated with P. Diddy and them? Why are we hearing about P. Diddy and Jay-Z's dirty laundry when they not even in our they not even in our society? These people are in the billionaire society. You know, this shit will sound bad to other billionaires, not us. See, because they know that we harbor some type of grudge against people that have money. They know that we harbor, as being people that's not rich, we harbor some type of resentment against them because guess what? We feel like they the haves and we the have-nots. And you know how that shit go. We don't give a fuck if P. Diddy is a rapist or not. We don't care if he raped a bunch of fucking people. Women, children, men, we don't care. See, and this is what people are not, this is what people I think are hiding from us. That neither do they. So why are we hearing so much about it? Why is P. Diddy and Jay-Z and all these people being put in the public for us to squabble over? You know, to judge. Why are they in the public like that? Guess what? When did they used to do shit? Didn't they used to do shit like this back in the day? When the masses became unruly, unsatisfied with their leadership, what they used to do? They used to have the Colosseums. They used to have what? The gladiators. Fight it out, right? Look, we are falling for the same shit. You know, why I laugh like that is because that shit sounded funny as hell, man. Because I was trying to mimic somebody I heard before, you know, by saying the gladiators fight it out amongst each other. You know what I'm saying? But that's another story. But think about it. P. Diddy and Jay-Z and any other celebrity that's making millions, billions of dollars, they don't give a fuck about what we think. They don't care about what we think. So why are they putting this information out here to people that it doesn't matter matters with their opinion? Why are they putting this information out there? And they try to say, oh, just trying to keep it transparent for the American public. Nah, man. This is the Coliseum games. This is the gladiator games. You always got to have a show in front of the peasants, either before or after you put them through torture. You know, they used to have the Coliseum games after every time Caesar raised the taxes on the public. So to satisfy their anger, he would have the gladiators fight to the death with animals and other humans and beasts and all kind of shit, just to keep their focus off of the fact that they rose the taxes on the populace. And they knew there's a certain time frame that they can do this. You know, if we do this for 3 months, by the end of that 3 months, nobody will remember that they're paying more taxes. All they'll remember is the gladiator show that Caesar, the emperor, put on for the public. That's all they'll remember. The same shit's happening with this P. Diddy shit. Another thing, do you know that all of a sudden we got a problem with immigrants? You know, people that come to America and integrate, and then we got a problem with immigrants in hip hop. Come on, man. Y'all don't see this shit? They ramping up to get people to not care about what's going to happen in this mass deportation shit. They're prepping us for this mass deportation shit, and they gotta get people in the mood to hate and fear these people. So when they come and get them, guess what? You're not gonna step in and try to fight. You're gonna be like, hey, they shouldn't have came here illegally. When the people that's picking them up are from the same location, got the same family history as the people that they are picking up and getting out of here. The dude that was up on the stage, well, I can't remember his name. Let me see if I can find out who he is. Talking about he's going to back Donald Trump on the largest deportation in American history. This cat, right? The border czar, right? Tom Hannon is an immigrant, right? He's an immigrant. He might not even be, you know, a second generation immigrant because he's an older cat. He's like, you got to be in his 70s, mid to late 70s. So that means that he could have come from another country and integrated into the system 70 something years ago and now looked at as a full-fledged American. This is the shit that people that aren't approved shouldn't be able to approve other people. That's what I'm saying. And I'm not telling nobody to go up against the U.S. government to fight for the immigrants. I'm not saying any of that shit. But what I am saying is this right here. You better check yourself and make sure you're not counted as one of those. Not only that, you need to recognize that the rules of government and law apply to us differently than the people that are above the law. See, the people that apply the law enforcement shit against you, the rules are different for them. And this is the shit that a lot of people don't recognize. That's the way they get caught up in this shit. It's to say that they deserve the same freedoms as the government officials. You don't deserve the same freedoms as a servant. That's what you don't understand. See, they are the servant class. And the servant class has established a form of hierarchy that we aren't accustomed to. In the servant class, they've promoted and demoted one another and created a hierarchy that now has been looked at as royalty. And this is where we fall out of touch with this shit. It's because we try to put ourselves on the same pedestal as these people when they are the servants. You see what I'm saying? The servants will serve their master as long as they're employed, right? Even if it doesn't serve the master, even if it's contradictory to the livelihood of the master, because now it's not serving the person, it's serving the mission. And what we need to stop doing is comparing ourselves to public servants, to civil servants, to service members. Stop comparing yourself to them. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to demoralize them like they're trying to demoralize us. See, because somebody that's always down is always going to be pulling somebody else down to get them beneath them so they can have a platform to rise. So these people that are in the servant class, politicians, law enforcement, military, school teachers, bus drivers, taxi drivers, McDonald's workers, McDonald's period. Caltrans, if you live in California, you know who I'm talking about, the people that work on the roads and shit. You know what I'm saying? Border Patrol, these people are in the servant class, right? And see, when you have a bunch of servants that are willing and able, you gotta function with them in a certain way. You don't, as the employer of a servant, you don't socialize with your servants like you socialize with everybody else. See, and this is the problem with the way that society's ran right now, because we try to socialize with these people. That's not the way we're supposed to do it. They're in a totally different environment than we are. The socialization ends with the communication between us and them. If they contact us, that's when we socialize them. After the contact, no, we're done. We're moving the fuck on. And that's how every interaction should be with these people. Even if you got family members that work in the service industry. The service industry is made up of a lot of people that are willing to do anything and work for anybody that's willing to pay them. That's the service industry. Just like when you go and you find a job, they tell you to go find a job. They're telling you to put yourself out there, sell yourself to people. Like they tell you, you got to sell yourself. You got to write up a good resume so you could sell yourself. But in actuality, you're demoralizing yourself for these people. Yes, I know you have to do this stuff in order to get a job, but when you're dealing, see, there's two different mindsets that we should be in. One is the provisioner, the provider, and the other one is the servant. When you're in a provisional or in the provider role and or position, you don't act like a servant, all right? Because you're providing to the servants, all right? Meaning, like, if you run a business and you have people working for you, yes, you're a servant, but you're not in the servant class, all right? You're a provider of the servant class. And this is what people are trying to get us to become, the provider of the servant class. So if you're a provider of the servant class, that makes you totally different from the servant, because a servant can no longer they can become a provider, or they just get out of the servant class altogether. You as the provider can't do that because your life depends on it. If your business goes bust, then you're back to being a servant again. So these are the stages that they're trying to get everybody to get in, especially the American people. The American people, which I'm talking about, the original American people, the non-immigrants, right, are in a unique position to be considered the most catered to class of people in history. See, because I don't remember any history lesson telling us about, subsidies and annuities and pensions. You know what I'm saying? That right there, a subsidy, an annuity, and a pension, is something that never occurred in history until the American history. There's no other country that allows their citizens to retire. There's no other country that does that besides America. See? And what we don't realize, that's the goal, right? Because when you're a retiree, you're no longer a servant or a provisionist. You're no longer a provider. You're being served and provided at the same time. So what does that make you? A benefactor. See? This is what this stuff is that we are avoiding. See, everybody that receives some type of funding from the government is a benefactor, not a servant or a provider. They are benefactors. Benefactors don't serve. Benefactors are served. See? So, guys, I know we've been painted a bad picture all these years, and we're considered, the bad guy in the families, especially black men. But in actuality, this is going to sound weird, we actually lived up to our position as benefactors. But they made it seem like it was a bad thing. When the woman was able to go and get welfare for the child that she has, the only bad thing that was done with that was the fact is that a bill was afforded to the man. Like he had to pay it back. You know what I'm saying? If he had to pay it back, that means that he's the provider and she's the benefactor. And also the government is the benefactor. But see, that has changed though. That's changed. Because now you can still get the money and the man doesn't have to foot the bill. I mean, they can go after him, but if he's constantly in a benefactor position, they can't get anything from it. It's just like claiming, bankruptcy. You get to keep all your assets and all your money, but you remain a debtor, which, in other words, a benefactor. right? Because that's what a debtor is, a benefactor. A debtor benefits from his debt. See, if we would have worked smart back in the day with the way that women and men functioned in society, the broken homes wouldn't have happened. You could have still became a benefactor and still kept your family intact. But see, this is where demoralization and this tool of benefactory comes in and actually becomes a weapon instead of a shield. You know what I'm saying? Because it was supposed to be a shield. And you know how they turn that around on us? By creating the gender wars, by creating the feminists and the manosphere, the feminism and the manosphere. See, the manosphere has always been around, but it had a different name, like the big the what do they call it? The good old boys club, right? And most of that was aimed at white people. But in actuality, the majority of the people that was in the good old boys club, believe it or not, were black people. See, because we're the ones created the good old boys club. We're the ones created the club where we get what we want and everybody else just has to suck it. That's the club we created. And it just passed on to other people in society, like white people. But this is the thing with this, right? When they added the moralization and the benefactor, which is like the money that's owed to you, right? They turned it around because now they made women think that men, right, were supposed to do what the government's supposed to do. See, and we created this government to do this shit for us. And now they were able to turn it around and say the government's doing what you created them to do, but now you look bad for creating them. See, that's what they're doing to us. Women, you can get welfare, EBT, and all that shit. That's what you deserve. Welfare, EBT, Social Security, all that shit is yours by birthright. Everybody that's a true American. You are the benefactor of this corporation. And when you allow them to do their job and stop allowing them to weaponize their job, then you'll get what you deserve. You'll get everything you deserve. You'll get that retirement, that annuity, that subsidy. You know what I'm saying? That pension. You'll get that. And you'll be able to live a comfortable life. But you gotta stop letting them manipulate you. And everybody know that they manipulating us. From the smallest peon all the way up to the biggest one who's considered the man. They manipulate us. Demoralizing us. I'm going to say, since before COVID, right, nothing has been real. The reality that we've been living in since COVID has turned so fictional that nobody can distinguish, well, some people can't distinguish whether or not it's real or fake. We've been so, how can I say it, hypnotized, to believe whatever we see. You can't believe what you see no more. They've cornered the market in visualization. They've been able to change the things that you see into, they've been able to change it to the things that you think you see. Just put it like that. If you're not right up on a situation, and even though that situation can change too, if you're not right up on the situation, then you can't really say that it occurred. If you're not right there when it's happening, you can't say that it occurred. All it is a story. That's all it is. Now think back to every story you heard that you believed and tell me whether or not it's real or fake. You can't. You can't do that. Nobody can do that except for the people that were actually there. And then they cloud their judgment with so much bullshit, that they don't even realize that the shit was fake. You know what I'm saying? They don't even realize that the shit was fake. From the Luigi shit to the young lady getting shot in her house by the cops, even back with George Floyd shit. None of that shit. There was only a handful of people, right, at these scenes, and sometimes not even that actually can say that they actually witnessed this shit firsthand. Everybody else is a spectator. I mean, and a spectator from the worst degree. You're a spectator like this. Remember the little game they used to play in school, in science mostly, where they would tell one student at the beginning of the class something, whisper it in their ear, and then he had to whisper it into the next person, and so on and so forth. When they get to the back of the class and that person receives a message, it's totally different from what they told them in the first place. Even if they wrote it down, you can do this test right here. If you got more than 6 people, you can do this test. Write down a math problem, right? It can be complicated. It can be simple. Write it down, right? From the math problem, allow the person that you're showing the math problem. You're gonna have 2 people. You're gonna tell one the first number, 2 the second number, right? They're supposed to put those 2 numbers together, solve the equation, and pass it on to the next person. When you get to the end of the 6 people, ask the person who had which number out of the 2 people that first initially got the numbers. And I guarantee, even though, they write the shit down, they still have a problem with figuring it out. If you got 2 people, each one of them have a number, they put those numbers together, make the equation, and then they pass the number and the person and the equation and the answer along. When it gets to the back of the room, they can't tell who had what number. Did you have let's say I have number 1, my brother has number 2. We come together, 1 plus 2 is 3. We say 1 plus 2 to the next person. 1 plus 2 is 3. I had number 1, he had number 2. We put them together and we got 3. That's how he's supposed to pass that message on until he gets to the end of the room. When he gets to the end of the room, I guarantee they have problems with finding out who had 1 and who had 2. Not the answer, but who started the equation. This is the shit that we don't recognize. When you get a story that's supposed to so-called affect your life, right? The person that you should be worrying about is not the person that's the bad guy or the good guy, but the person who passed the message. The messenger is the most important person anytime you have a messaging system. The messenger is the most important person, not the message. They've been teaching us all these years, don't kill the messenger. I'm just the messenger. No, man. The messenger is the most important person. You know why? It's because he determines how the message is sent. So if the messenger's fucked up, automatically the message is going to be fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So when you pass in messages and you want the message to reach the people the way you put it out there, you better have a good judge of character. Because the person you choose to pass the message initially is gonna make or break the message. Because if you don't have a good judge of character, whoever the person you pass the message on, and if he's not a good judge of character, whoever the person he passed the message on, if he's not a good judge of character, you see what I'm saying? So it goes on and on and on and on and on until the whole message fucked up. And this is the psychology behind this shit because they know this. You know what I'm saying? They are intentionally pass rumors around neighborhoods, around cities, around towns, around states to the wrong motherfuckers on purpose so the message can be fucked up when it reaches the right people. See? And this is the reason why you can't trust anybody. Can't trust anybody. See? You can't even trust yourself because you got a poor choice of judgment. See? So once you know that, now you start working on what's most important. You. Because if I could choose the right person, meaning like if I can determine you a good person just based off of my judgment, then I know that you're going to use the same technique to choose the next person you pass the message on to. See, because good people are hard to find, but shitty people are everywhere. That's why you gotta judge people, right? And you gotta test the spirit, means the words they say that come out of their mouth, right? And then you gotta match the spirit with the actions. So what they do, what they say, right? And and the person that they are. Meaning like what you say and do could be totally different from how you actually feel. Like I said, the servant class will continue to serve the provider as long as they paying. You know? They'll do shit that they don't want to do for years until they have the moment, till they have the chance to do what they want to do when they free, right? When they free, then they can be the person they want to be. You want to be free people. And this is the thing that most people don't realize. A free person is somebody that's retired. Somebody that doesn't work for anybody, even themselves. They don't work for themselves. A free person is somebody that's receiving the benefits. That's a free person because they no longer have to stoop to certain levels to get the money now. They just get the money. See? Now, are they satisfied with what they're getting? That's the next thing you have to judge with them. If they're not satisfied with what they're getting, then they're not the right person to get because they'll give up. They'll give up the benefits to go and work for somebody that's going to pay them more. What's worth more money? Money, what's worth more? Money that you earn or money that is given to you? And this is the shit that we are taught as a young kid. We're taught you can't teach a dog, an old dog, new tricks. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't teach him to drink. You can give a man fish, but if you don't know how to fish, he's gonna be hungry. Yeah, however that went, you know what I mean? But still, it's the same meaning. If he can find somebody that's gonna give him fish every day, does he really need to learn how to fish? No. Does the American population have a system set up like that that'll give a man fish every day without him knowing how to fish? Yes. See, it's all about whether or not you're satisfied with that fish. And see, this is the thing that you don't realize. Satisfaction don't mean that you're looking for quality. Satisfaction don't mean that you're looking for durability or, some type of glamour. Satisfaction means is, can you use that shit and live with the use of it? That's what it means to me. So if the government's giving me $100 a week, but I could go out there and make $500 a week, am I gonna be the type of person that want the $500 a week that I got to go out there and struggle for, or am I gonna be the type of person that's satisfied with the $100 a week? Can I make it work? And this is the shit that we're taught of as bad. When nature's set up like this, nature is set up to provide in abundance. But certain things have to happen for you to get this, right? You have to go through how do you say it? Let's look at this like a seed. In order for a seed to grow, let's say an apple seed to grow and produce an abundant amount of apple seeds, first it has to go through the germination process. First, it has to go through being tempered, being in the hot, being in the cold, being in the wet, being in the dry. And then after it goes through those stages, now it's able to sprout. But nah, see, we think that that's it, right? That's not it. Now it has to go through the stages of being a sapling. It has to go through hardening off. The weather changes. The sunlight's harsh. The sunlight's not enough. Too much watering, too little watering. Pests, bacteria. And then the good old fashioned, human intervention. You know what I'm saying? We have to go through that as a sapling. Once you go through those two stages, now you have a better chance of accomplishing your goal. And this is what entry level is about. This is what entry level work is about. See, because entry level work is not meant for you to get rich. Entry level work is meant for you to learn how to use what you have at your disposal. The average entry level worker today makes more than the blue collar workers from back in the day. $20 an hour, $18 an hour was blue collar money back when I was a kid. That's what entry level workers are getting today. McDonald's, Burger King, KFC, Taco Bell, they getting that shit today. They getting, blue collar money today as an entry level worker, which leaves them little room for growth in today's society. Even though they say the economy and inflation and all that shit has changed and that money is warranted to be used, let me tell you something. They raise the money of your earnings so they can raise the taxes of your earnings. You didn't see that after they passed that law that everything started to go up, but we thought that it was going up because of the president. No, it was going up to subsidize this money that we're going to give y'all. Because from this money, it's going to come, it's going to increase the economy. So in order to increase the economy, you got to spend that money. You can't just be making that $18, $20 an hour and everything's still in the $6 and $7 range. No. Now that extra $9 that you got, as a raise or as a raise right, now you got to use that money. So guess what they do? In order to make you use that money, they increase prices. Because they know people will hoard it. We giving you all this money. All you're going to do is sit back and flaunt it. Hold on to it until you get a lot of it so you can throw it in other people's face. That's not part of the system. Not unless you become, what do they call? A progenitor, a provider. You become a provider, then yeah, you got all the right in the world to throw your money in people's face. Because you providing. And even with that comes consequences. See, because now you get targeted by the people that aren't providers. So my thing is this right here. Man, stop hating on women for getting welfare. Women, stop hating on men for helping you get the welfare. You know what I'm saying? If your man know that you are, out of his range, out of his league, and he can't take care of you because you got special needs, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these people got special needs. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't satisfied with what your man is giving you after he knocked you up, you got special needs because you were satisfied with him before he knocked you up. That's why you let him do it. That's why you let him do it. Stop hating on what you did and accept it. Let that man go and do what he gonna do, and you go ahead and do what you gonna do. If it was meant to be, y'all hook up again. But don't knock the system. The system was never meant to be weaponized against each other like this. The system was meant to be used, right? Welfare was supposed to be, whether the man was there or not. It was supposed to be a system that was set up to where if the man was there, you still get it. If the man wasn't there, you get it. You see what I'm saying? That's how it was set up. See, welfare and Social Security is a trust that was set up by the founders of the system, not the founders of this country, because we don't know who the founders of this country was, right? All we know that the United States, the corporation, that's not a country. That's a business in the country. The country or the nation is America, so we don't know. But we do know that these trusts were started when the corporation or before the corporation began. So, what were we doing? Back in the day, nobody had to work. If you wanted extra, you went out there and you got extra. You see what I'm saying? But nobody literally had to work. Food and clothing and shelter was always provided in the Americas. Always. It was always provided for in Americas. But see, what people don't realize is that when you're not satisfied, ain't nothing gonna work. Ain't nothing gonna work. See? And there's always gonna be people that are dissatisfied with shit. You know? So women, don't feel bad for getting Social Security and welfare and food stamps. That's your birthright. That's your pension. That's your annuity. You know what I'm saying? That's your retirement. See, you know that welfare only lasts until the child becomes old enough to where they can get their own. And by then, the parents are old enough to start a new chapter in their life after welfare. It's the Social Security. See? This is what they don't want you to realize. This shit right here. This is why they show us all this bullshit on these boob tubes. This is why they do that. This is why they do that. And I'm gonna hate to say it. A woman was not made for anything other than to be with a man. A woman was not made, I'm gonna say it again, for anything other than to be with a man. And the way that goes is the same thing happens with a man. A man was not meant to do anything besides be with a woman. That's the only thing, to be with a woman. So ain't no such thing as one's better than the other or anything when they're both made for each other. Now the competition that comes along with, finding a man and finding a woman, now that's a different story. But just like the birds and the animals in nature, after you get the mate, all of that superficial, all of that posturing and dancing and all of that shit was all just for show. And they know it. They know it. So stop allowing them to use these screens to trick us into doing shit and feeling a certain way about our benefits. Our benefits, man. So until next time, guys, stay safe. Salutes to the real ones.